Hi, I'm Ben Chu.
And I'm Jen Bullock. I'm a nurse practitioner.
And welcome to Med Spa Secrets. We're married, and together we own Illume Aesthetics. So Illume Aesthetics is a pretty cool med spa. And what are some kind of neat things about this practice?
Well, we've been in practice for almost 6 years, and really over the last 3 years, we have grown exponentially. This last 3 years running, we have been the fastest growing med spa in the Allergan profile. We are a 7-figure med spa, which I think is pretty cool.
It is.
We are in the Allergan Platinum Plus group, which means that we are in the top 5% of all med spas in the Allergan profile. That means that we inject essentially more Botox and filler than 95% of the rest of the United States. Last year, we got to lecture for Candela on some of the Illume method, so the way that we do business here, and some of our marketing secrets and things like that. We were asked to be key opinion leaders for Candela. We've got a little bit of experience, and we would like to be able to bring some of that to you guys and help bypass some of the struggles that I think are really, really common when people are first starting out in the industry.
Well said. So that's pretty much what this podcast, Med Spa Secrets, is going to be all about. We went through the school of hard knocks in business, not just the med spa business, but also other businesses before we achieved this amount of success. We've had the opportunity to work with a number of really great mentors and coaches. One of the things that I personally learned from that, I won't speak for you, is that you can really expedite your speed of progress, really avoid a lot of pain and suffering by learning from other people's mistakes and learning from, how they accomplished what they accomplished. I guess we just kind of want to give back to the med spa community, help out other aspiring med spa owners, be they entrepreneurs or doctors, nurse practitioners, depending on whatever state you're in, so that you can grow your med spa a whole lot faster and easier and learn from our mistakes. It wasn't always this way, obviously. We didn't start out as a 7-figure med spa. We didn't start out in the top 5% of med spas. In fact, I don't know that we ever really thought that we would make it this far, even.
Absolutely, yeah.
I guess we need to go way back and start at the origin story to kind of bring you up to speed, and then further episodes will be just kind of all about running med spas, managing your team, marketing, doing different procedures, all of those kind of tactics and strategies for success. I guess way back, before we knew any of this, Jen was still an RN in the hospital, and I owned a CrossFit gym. This was 10 years ago now. way back in the Wayback Machine.
Yes.
We loved the gym. It was the first business we had together, and we put a lot of our heart and soul into it.
It didn't really make us a lot of money.
It did not. I guess during that process is when I started working with different mentors, different business coaches, stuff like that, and Jen actually decided to go back to school during those early days to get her NP license.
Yep.
Things kind of got to the point with the gym where we really came to a crossroads. We were like, God, we've put so much into this business. It's given us so little back. Like, does it even make sense at all to keep it? Should we just shut it down and I'll get a job and, you'll stay in school and maybe go back, work at the hospital or whatever. And we decided to take a little break to kind of leave town, clear headspace, different environment, all of that jazz. And we went to this convention called Paleo FX in Austin, Texas, where we met someone who would become a pivotal kind of coach and mentor for us. He was a fellow by the name of Alex Sharfin, and he had just launched his book called The Entrepreneurial Personality Type, and he was talking about the release of it at Paleo FX, and it super resonated with me personally. So I went up to him and I started speaking to him, and we made sort of a connection, and we kept in touch with each other on social media and chatted back and forth. And after maybe a month or so after that, he said, "Hey, I really need to introduce you to some clients of mine, Alex and Layla Hormozy. They own this business that they just started. It's called Gym Launch. They help gym business owners basically fill up their gym and scale to success in about 30 days. I was like, wow, that sounds like exactly what I need. And I went and I talked to them, and we found out that it was going to cost $16,000 to do this program. And what were your thoughts about that at the time?
Well, first of all, we didn't really have $16,000. And the idea that I thought, oh my gosh, this is, the nail in the coffin if he does this. Spoiler alert, he did it.
Yeah, so you were totally right at the time. It definitely, if it was something that didn't work out, it very much would have been the nail in the coffin for the gym. But I don't know if maybe you own a business now, or if you've owned businesses in the past, struggled to grow, or even if you're thinking about starting a business and you've never started a business before, you should also sometimes know that sometimes you can get to a place when things are not working out well for you, where something just has to change. And for me at the time, I thought, great, either this is gonna work or it will actually force us to kill the gym and be able to kind of just stop limping along, and then we can do something else. So I whipped out the trusty credit card and I bought the program. And Jen was furious for a couple days, but lo and behold, I was able to rapidly learn all of these different marketing techniques, business systems, online sales funnels, etc. And we made the $16,000 back in the first 2 weeks.
It was incredible.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then we started scaling the gym rapidly. Eventually, we kind of became like the high-end fitness place in our little town. And then I guess Jen actually kind of got me back on the flip side, because I came home one day and...
This is after I had graduated.
Yeah, you'd graduated NP school, and you were still at the hospital, though. Working with the orthopedic surgeons.
I was.
And she comes home one day and she's like, hey, babe, I bought this $150,000 laser, but don't worry about it. It's gonna totally pay for itself. I'm gonna use it with my girlfriends and stuff on the weekends. It'll be like a little side hustle. And I was like, whew, well, I mean, this is kind of what I deserve. She had faith in me with my entrepreneurial stuff, so I'm gonna trust that she's making an awesome and a good decision with this. And she started this side hustle, which was Illume Aesthetics, a little med spa on the weekends.
And I did. I worked on the weekends, slinging laser and Botox and fillers to my nurse friends with really no business plan, because, as a provider, you're really good at what you do, but maybe you're not super good at business. And I really didn't know anything about a business. I mean, for me, I was thinking, oh man, if I'm bringing in $10,000 this month, that's a lot of money, right? And so I had no way of understanding or tracking, and I just really feel like we're super fortunate because it all ended up working out. But ultimately, I just leaped on into it, and, God was looking out for us.
It grew, over the first year or two, to the point to where, you were busy enough to leave the hospital.
Yep.
It seemed like it kind of hit, a threshold or an artificial sort of ceiling, that when we started looking at the numbers, actually the gym was still frequently on a month-to-month basis producing more revenue than what was now your full-time medical practice.
Yes. And in the practice, even though we were making some money, there was never anything to really show for it, right? Because I didn't understand anything about tracking KPIs. I didn't understand anything about, cost of goods. I just brought the money in and paid the bills.
Sent it back out.
Sent it back out.
Which, is totally normal for someone that is just jumping into having a business and hasn't spent time studying business or working with business mentors and learning how to run a business. So we were looking at the numbers and we realized the gym was outperforming the med spa in terms of revenue on a somewhat consistent basis. And what I kind of saw, I'm not sure necessarily what you saw, but you can speak to it, was that the business of the med spa was lacking what the business of the gym had in terms of structure and systems and operating processes, and basically all of it, everything except for the providing of the actual procedures. What I mean by that is that while being an amazing provider is super key to having a good med spa, that's not actually what the business of the med spa is. And there's all sorts of other systems or ecosystems around lead generation and lead nurture and sales and follow-up and HR and training and management, and then back-end sales and ascension into longer term treatment plans and whatnot. That was missing. And I think we kind of realized that what we could do is we could take all of those things from the gym and adapt them and bring them over to the med spa and implement them, but that it would probably be too much for us to do with both businesses at the same time. So ultimately we decided to sell the gym at the very end of 2018. and focus on doing all of that for Illume. And I spent all of 2019 learning the med spa industry because I am the least likely person to be interested in med spa stuff. I have a huge needle phobia. I don't even like the way things feel on my skin. I don't like sunscreen, but I do love marketing and sales and running businesses. So there was a big learning curve for me. I had to learn the language, learn the industry, learn the laws. We brought in subject matter experts like Terry Ross and stuff like that to help us really expedite our learning. Once I kind of built that foundational learning of the industry for myself, I started repurposing all of our systems and processes from the gym space and adapting them. And right when we got to the point to where all of those things were starting to work for us and we were scaling up, 2020 hit.
Oh, and that was terrifying. I mean, they shut us down. It was the first time I ever experienced the place of not being able to go to work. I mean, I've been working since I was 16 years old. I never thought in a million years that they would tell us that we couldn't be open for business. And
especially as a medical clinic during a pandemic, but at least here in Oregon, I felt like they did kind of discriminate against clinics that offer aesthetics things as well. I think in some of the language, actually, they specifically said, if you offer Botox, then you're not going to qualify to stay open.
Yes. And so, I mean, I did a bunch of other certifications during our downtime. We really dug in. We put together some stuff that we thought would serve the community. I mean, we really just went to work on the back end, creating some marketing. And when we opened back up, a few months
later, they did let clinics that included aesthetic services open up, and we added some other IV infusions and things that are maybe
hormone therapy,
more on the healthcare side of things than the aesthetic side of things as a good reason to also be open. I think that was a situation kind of like with the gym where we got a taste of having our backs up against the wall.
Yes.
And we kind of just said, F it, let's push the gas all the way down to the floor, pedal to the metal, and let's do $1 million this year, or just say F it and do something else if they're not even going to allow us to be open. So as soon as we were able to open our doors back open, we turned the systems back on that we had spent all of that time implementing and went pedal to the metal. And before 2020 was out, we had done over $1 million in aesthetic services and sales.
And it was the first time that I had made a wage that was representative of a nurse practitioner. It was like we had arrived.
We were able to actually pay you. You had been paid in the hospital, plus take some profits and start really taking care of all of the employees and building a bigger team and doing all of those things. So now we are here at the end of 2022. It's been almost 3 years that we've now been running a 7-figure plus med spa. And not only do we have the knowledge and experience of what it takes to build up to that, I feel like now we've also really learned how to sustain that and manage it and keep it going while continuing to still drive incremental growth every year. And for me, that's what I really want to bring to this podcast. I want to show people how they can start a med spa and turn it into a profitable venture where they can support themselves and their families and the families of their employees. Also, if someone has already had a med spa and maybe it's not there where you want it to be yet, you're taking care of it more than it's taking care of you, I want to also show you changes that you could make so that you could also get to the point where your business is working for you more than you're working for your business. And I'm sure there's other things beyond business stuff, of course, that you want to contribute.
Absolutely. I mean, there is a lot to be said for building relationships with your clients or your patients, learning how to be a good leader for your staff, creating treatment plans that work and keep your patients coming back, keep them happy. There are so many things that we would love to bring to the table. We've got some really exciting guests lined out
that's true.
In the coming episodes. So we're really excited to bring all of the last few years of knowledge, expertise, save you some shortcuts or
save you some heartache.
Save you some heartache, because there were some real painful lessons that I went through. Both of us have gone through, and
so if you enjoyed that, if that all sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to hit that thumbs up button or that heart button, depending on what device or computer you're listening in on or watching on. Hit that subscribe button so that now that we've gotten introductions out of the way, we can start laying down all the awesome strategies and tips and tactics and experience that hopefully benefit you and your med spa or your med spa that you'll have someday.
Right. That sounds good.
Bye!
Until next time, you guys, stay fabulous.